Welcome to Now Daily. I'm Robert Crawford. It's Super Tuesday, 2016, the presidential primaries of the United States of America. Let's take a look at what's going on right now and then analyze just what the fuck is going on here. Why are politics so screwed up? I think everyone can slightly agree to that. But let's look at what really happened on Super Tuesday. Well, what is Super Tuesday? Super Tuesday is basically one of the largest days in the primary process for the Republicans and the Democrats. So pretty much almost everyone in the presidential running, there's going to be a number of states that are going to choose their delegates and their selections. Some states have caucuses, some states have primaries. The difference between a primary and a caucus, a primary is kind of a general election within that state of the people in that party. So everyone who's a Republican, or I believe independents or anyone, even Democrats, can show up to the Republican primary and vote on the Republican side. So people show up into a primary state. They select by county generally who wins the most votes. They divvy out the votes. Some states give out delegates proportional to the votes, and some states give out all the delegates just to the winner. So even if you win by a hair, you'll still get all those delegates. Now, what's really important is the election process to choose the person, to choose either the Republican or the Democrat. The election process to choose that candidate is pretty skewed because the delegates are the ones that are deciding at the end of the day, right? The delegates get to go in a big convention with all these other delegates from other states, and they say, oh, I'm for this guy, I'm for that person. But really, they're the ones deciding, right? They're not enforced, or generally these super delegates and other party members, a good chunk of the delegates don't have to vote the same way that the actual voters and people do. So they're really the ones that are making the decision. And even in the presidential, when it comes down to the few candidates that run for the actual presidential election, you're not even really getting a vote for that either. So let's all recognize for a second, before we dive into these results, that this entire system is broken. But it's broken for a reason. And as long as it's done constitutionally, it has some pretty good reasoning, but I think it could definitely be tweaked and improved upon. The concern today that I've heard is a lot of voter fraud, especially with electronic ballots. And I've seen some images, I don't know, I can't verify if they're real or not, of people getting ballots that have a candidate already marked on them. I saw some people that got Marco Rubio on the Republican ballot, literally on the piece of paper. You know, it was marked on the piece of paper. So that was kind of strange. Now, that could have, who knows, you could have taken that tweet after you wrote it yourself and made something up just to start a big scene. But the interesting thing are the electronic registrations, because I believe those could easily be hacked. And we know that Microsoft controls a large chunk of them. Now, you may think, okay, Microsoft, Bill Gates. Well, Bill Gates still owns a good chunk of Microsoft, but they're really not the owners anymore. And we've proved through our past articles on Now Daily that the real owners are subsidiaries of a main group called Vanguard Group, which is basically a hedge fund, just the largest hedge fund in the world. Now, they have a number of subsidiaries and some other partner subsidiaries that are all working in conjunction. And these same shareholders own the media, such as Time Warner, Fox News, CNN, those things. They own those. They also own the major banks. So they own Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, 4 major banks. They have all this in conjunction. So when we talk about this election, as we talk about the results right now, keep that in mind, that that's really the fight we're fighting for right now. That there is a special interest party that's controlling this election and has controlled the past. Not only do they have a major influence in the election process, but they have an influence in almost every other area of the government. Most of the time, their lobbyists are actually writing the bills and having the people that are elected in these phony processes pass their laws for them. And that's why we're in the mess we're in right now. So I think we can all agree that that's what's going on. Now we can argue about the solution to the problem. And we could argue about whether with the problem everything's dandy and we should keep doing what we're doing, or if there's actually a conspiracy of people that are working in conjunction to globalize the United States. We've seen this with NAFTA agreement. So a lot of these different things that are going on. Let's look at the results for a second. Right now we have the primary results by state. So the ones that are in, right now Alabama, for example, on the Democratic side, went for Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders did not fare well there. So Bernie's really getting killed. Let's just start with the Democrats right now. I'm not neutral, I'm no party, but let's just go through the results. Now, Bernie's pretty much getting killed in the southern states, and he's doing fairly decent in the northern states or more liberal states. So I imagine he's going to do pretty well in California. Probably 50-50, almost neck and neck. But in the southern states, for some reason, they continue to vote for Hillary Clinton, disregarding the facts of the situation. During the Clinton presidency, over 1 million African Americans were incarcerated. They also were the ones that brought in NAFTA and these trade agreements. So when everyone's complaining about these jobs leaving America, he was really instrumental in making that happen. Now, I do believe he's working in conjunction with the Bushes and this financial cabal we keep mentioning. So you have to think that those both sides are working in conjunction, and that's exactly why we're in the situation we are today. There's still a huge portion of the United States that's doing really well, and even the poorest American does better than the majority of the world, really. So we haven't done horribly, but not many people are thriving. You know, there's about, I think, 33 million millionaires, right? So that would be 1%. 1% of 340 million, give or take. You have kids and everything. About 33 million millionaires. That's not that many. And what I'm saying is the free market will allow everyone to be a millionaire. So it's really about yourself. So when people are still voting for Clinton, I'm having a really hard time figuring out why. But let's just go down the states. Alabama, Clinton dominated, 78%. Arkansas dominated, 70%. Colorado, Bernie Sanders actually took Colorado. So, you know, the most libertarian state really voted for Bernie Sanders. Georgia, Clinton, 71%. Massachusetts, 51.5%. Clinton. So she's winning these northern states, she's winning these southern states. So Clinton's, they really didn't give you a choice. Who are these other choices? One says no preference, so 0.7% got no preference. O'Malley got 0.4%, got 2,500 votes basically in all of Massachusetts. And De La Fuente, 795 people. Like, what? What's going on here? So they give you two choices, and Clinton seems to be dominating in most of it. Some of these states, the more northern ones, like Massachusetts, Bernie was pretty close, 51 to 73%. Bernie also took Oklahoma. That one was surprising. But Clinton took Minnesota. She took Tennessee by dominating with 63%. She took Texas with 67.7%. She took Vermont, which is Bernie's home state. She got over 10,000 people there. There's really not that many people in Vermont, I guess. But Bernie actually dominated that one, 86% for Bernie. But then Clinton picks up Virginia. So Clinton definitely won today. She pretty much dominated the Democratic side. And is that really a surprise to anyone? Bernie was really a long shot, but at least Bernie was talking about these issues that we just mentioned. Right? That's why anyone started going for Bernie anyway. It's not because he looked cool, and it wasn't because this white, he's another senator, so it had nothing to do with him being an outsider. But he was at least talking about the actual issues. The Federal Reserve is stealing from us. They're creating a private currency with fiat dollars. Fiat means decreed by the state. So the state has agreed to let this private corporation called the Federal Reserve print money with it, and they're the only ones that are allowed. They don't allow me to print money. They don't allow you to print money. And then they give this money just about for free, 0.25% interest now, which they're probably going to drop back down to 0%. They give this money to those four major banks. They're big players. And then Fannie and Freddie also pick it up and start buying and swapping these securities. So these bankers are all getting rich, but I believe there is a concerted effort to take it a step further. But regardless, that system needs to be fixed. So Clinton pretty much dominates the Democratic side. The Republican side was a bit more undecided. Although Trump definitely came out on top, he lost a few key states. But he lost, really, the main one he lost was Texas. And he lost Texas probably for the fact that Ted Cruz is based in Texas. He's a senator from Texas. So he has a strong following in Texas. But even with that, he still only won by a hair. So let's look at Texas. Ted Cruz picks it up with 40%, but Donald Trump gets 28%. So although he got an extra 130,000 votes, the interesting thing with Texas, as we were talking about before, is it's a primary. So you're voting by the people are actually deciding it. And then their delegates are then split. So the winner doesn't take all in Texas. So Ted Cruz gets 32 delegates, but Trump gets 14. Other states like Tennessee, where Trump wins, he gets all the delegates. So Trump got 26 delegates. Oklahoma, a primary, so it's split. So Trump got 10. So when you start adding up the delegate count, it's interesting because Trump really took more delegates than anyone today. But there are also a number of things, like Virginia had a split primary. Rubio took 14 and Ted Cruz took 7. So if you look at just delegates, Trump is pretty far ahead in the lead. And I'm wondering if I could... all elections, here we go. So what it seems like, and what we're probably going to get by the end of the day, is a choice between Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. It's a pretty interesting choice. It's going to be interesting to see how people swing. Now, then you have to ask, okay, is there a possibility of an independent candidate coming into the race? Well, yes, that's allowed. But the problem is getting on all 50 ballots. Because you need to get electoral votes, and you have to get those state by state. So you need to get on all 50 ballots, and it takes millions and millions of dollars to get on all 50 states in legal fees, processing fees, man hours. So it's going to be very difficult for someone to just come up out of thin air and do it. Now, other people are in the race. There is the Libertarian Party. But you notice that none of the mainstream media, Politico, CNN, Fox, any channel on TV, not a single one of them is talking about the Libertarian Party. So you may be saying, what is the Libertarian? And a lot of people will probably call themselves liberal. Sounds very familiar. But liberal ideologies and libertarian ideologies are very different. But most people that call themselves liberal are actually probably more libertarian. Libertarians believe in complete freedom, that there should be very limited regulations, that there should be very limited taxes, that really the only reason the government exists is to serve the people and to protect individual freedoms. Right? They're just supposed to be a mediary. Right now, already the Supreme Court has ruled multiple times that the law enforcement officers, the police officers, have no duty whatsoever legally to protect you or me. Their duty is only to investigate and prosecute. So basically, they're just the justice system, just like I said, to achieve justice. So there's a set of laws. Those laws have gone completely out of control. There's so many laws that you don't even know if you're breaking the law at this point. It's insane. You have no idea. So if they really wanted to bring you in, they could IRS audit you. They could do so many things. But a libertarian believes in freedom, right? The government should just leave you the hell alone unless you're doing something. So if you're for gay marriage, right? A libertarian would believe everyone can do what they choose. So if you want to get married to whoever you choose, go ahead and do it, as long as it doesn't infringe on someone else's rights. So they're really the only individual freedom and peace organization on the table, right? Because the Republicans and Democrats are almost identical in every way, except for the fact, they are. Think about it. They both use military power. They continue to pass these ginormous budgets. They both work in conjunction with special lobbyist powers. They both believe in a large state, more and more taxes, more programs. Although it's been proven through Austrian economics that the free market system is the best way to go. If you think that it will really be cheaper to accomplish something, such as healthcare, or even the postage system, for example. The postage system in the United States is probably one of the better things that the government has, right? It's probably one of the things that they kind of figured out how to get right. I'll agree with that. But then the free market comes up with solutions. So you have UPS and FedEx. And then you have to subsidize by stealing through taxation, which is theft. You're basically just allowing someone else to come to someone to steal from them, and then using that to subsidize the cost on most of these stamps in the post office. But the main point that I'm getting at is the free market is you and me, the individual. So our vote in this primary, we've already talked about how flawed this system is. We've already talked about how in a lot of instances voter fraud is even swinging these elections. Now, I think since Clinton's gotten some landslides in a number of states, I don't think there was as much voter fraud as we probably would have seen if Bernie was a little closer. But it seems like she's taking it. And what I'm saying is our real vote is with our money, our minds, and our manpower. And that's it. Voting on a governmental system is a backwards and old way of thinking. And we've done it for the past few thousand years as a human civilization. But we don't need it anymore. We don't need a centralized figure like that. At least one of the size that we have now. So let's think about our real vote. And our real vote is with your time, and in this system, with your money. So choose where you spend your dollars, because that's how you're going to vote to change this world. By using your money, and then beyond that, your mind and your time and your effort to create what you want to see. That's the real vote, and that's how you're going to win out of this system. In terms of the governmental political structure, all the choices are pretty horrible. But I believe that there is a cabal through the financial elites that control the media, they control the narrative, and they control the candidates. And there's only one, maybe two candidates I see that aren't connected with that cabal. And that would be Bernie Sanders, and my belief is also Donald Trump at this point. So out of those two choices, unless you want to continue to get either the status quo or even worse, because I don't know what the cabal really has in plan for their next phase of the system, because we continue to see, just look through the executive orders on whitehouse.gov. Just look through the United Nations site. Go to the Council on Foreign Relations website. Go to the Rockefeller Foundation website. Go to the Ford Foundation website. This is all public information. Read Bill Clinton's My Life. That's his book. Or David Rockefeller's memoirs. Or Zbigniew Brzezinski's. They're all out in plain sight of what they're trying to do. And that's globalize the United States to create a one world system. They're doing it right now. And it's just going to mean more money out of your pocket, mean more regulations on your person, and more fear of getting in trouble and thrown in jail for something, or getting sued for something, or being able to not protect yourself. So let's vote with our dollars, but also at the ballot. And you have to make that decision. This is Now Daily. I'm Robert Crawford. Stay classy, planet Earth.